Hello ladies and gentlemen, my name is Mengs, and today we're all gonna be inhaling some delicious copium together. You guys know I love covering leaks and predictions on this channel. Sometimes they turn out to be true, other times they turn out to be not so true. But I would like to add that the last time I was laughed at by you guys for covering quote-unquote fake leaks, they all turned out to be 100% real, so I'd say my track record is somewhat decent. Today, however, all we really have is a prediction made by someone who was able to predict other things, no screenshots or anything like that, but just because I like humoring stuff like this on the channel, let's take a look together. So this leak came out from 4chan and it was made by someone who was able to correctly predict the cowgirl and ninja segments in Princess Peach Showtime. And they say that these are the current titles we have in store: Famicom Detective Club, Gresso Remake, Metroid Prime 2 Remake, and a new Donkey Kong Country game. But most importantly, Fire Emblem 4 Remake releasing in May. The Fire Emblem 4 Remake is something that's been talked about a lot ever since the person who leaked Engage also said they were working on a remake of Genealogy of the Holy War. February is coming up, which means there's a high likelihood of a Nintendo Direct, and this means we might see a trailer for this game during that Direct. Some of you may say it's unlikely we'll get a trailer just a few months before the game releases, but if you look back to how Fire Emblem Echoes worked, this actually isn't far-fetched. The first trailer for Echoes came out in January of 2017, and the game itself was released in August of the same year. So a trailer in February and a release date around May actually isn't that far-fetched. According to the previous leaks, this game has been in development for a very long time, so it's not exactly surprising that it might already be done and ready for a release. In regards to a Fire Emblem 4 Remake, I've talked about it quite a lot on this channel, but to summarize my thoughts, I am personally very excited for a prospect of this game being remade. Genealogy of the Holy War has one of the best stories in Fire Emblem, and the thought of seeing it delivered with an Echo-style presentation makes my heart filled with joy. Fire Emblem 4 has so many amazingly handsome and beautiful characters that have gained lots of popularity through other games like Fire Emblem Heroes, and seeing these characters with new art, voice acting, and potential things like support conversations makes me very excited. Just imagine that scene reimagined as a cinematic. You know it's going to hit like a ton of bricks. However, as much as I personally would love for Fire Emblem 4 to get a remake, I will also say that I'm not sure if it's going to be the best thing for the franchise at the moment. Because first of all, remakes historically don't sell that well, and second of all, if they stay as faithful to Fire Emblem 4 as Echoes did with Gaiden, I do see many of the game's tedious and somewhat clunky mechanics not being super well received by the player base. Things like absolutely massive maps, the inability to trade, and how castles work can be quite off-putting to newer players. Though I do hope that some modern features like support conversations and castle exploration makes its way into the game. I personally wouldn't mind running around with Sigurd talking to people. Of course, there's the fear that they might change or add too much to such a remake. A personal nightmare scenario for me is that they replace the character of Oifi with a self-inserted avatar, something I personally think would detract greatly from the story. However, in regards to a Fire Emblem 4 remake, I have another worry, and that is whether or not this will be the last game for the Switch, or the first game for the Switch 2. Now, in case you haven't heard, there's a lot of speculation online that we're getting a brand new console soon. People just call it the Switch 2, but it really could be anything. The Switch is on its last legs, and people are very tired of things such as its low processing power and things like the Joy-Con drifts. So it's entirely likely that the next Nintendo Direct will announce a new console. If this supposed Fire Emblem 4 remake is the first game for this new console, then that is something I think will be very good for the game. But if this Fire Emblem 4 remake is the last game for the Switch, I think it's going to sell very poorly. And while I'm going to be happy regardless if we get a Fire Emblem 4 remake, I am a little bit worried for the Fire Emblem franchise as a whole if the latter turns out to be true. Fire Emblem is in quite a rough spot right now, at least in terms of how much people are talking about it online. At the moment, the series' popularity on YouTube is at its lowest it has ever been historically. Very few people are actively searching for and consuming Fire Emblem content online. And while this isn't the only thing that determines the series' popularity, it is one of the best ways we have to measure how interested people are in Fire Emblem as a whole. Some people say Engage is the culprit, as interest in the series flatlined hard in the months after its release, and the game itself failed to keep up with its predecessor Treehouses in almost every way. Engage was followed by a wave of apathy in the community, as videos of Engage hardly got any traffic at all. The only exception was if you posted a critical video of the game. Those seemed to get a lot of traction. I've talked a lot about why I think Engage failed, and I won't repeat all my points here, but as someone who is very passionate about Fire Emblem and want the franchise to do well, I really just want what's best for the series as a whole. And if Fire Emblem 4 comes out in May for the Switch, I don't think that's going to be great for the series. Don't get me wrong, it's going to be great for me. I'll be like a little kid on Christmas Eve. I don't care if a majority of people on YouTube ignore it, I'll be playing the crap out of this game. But I still hope that Nintendo will be smart about it and give this game the spotlight it deserves on a brand new console, because historically speaking, Fire Emblem games released towards the end of a console's lifespan have flopped, and that's never a good thing for the franchise. So, what if these leaks turn out to be true and Fire Emblem 4 is actually announced in May? What does that mean for this channel? Well, first things first, if that is true, I'm definitely doing a Fire Emblem 4 Iron Man leading up to it. It's one of the few games I've yet to beat in such a format on the channel, and I think the announcement of a remake would be a good chance to do so. I might even consider doing an Iron Man with story, just to refresh myself on the plot, and to maybe give others a chance to witness it before the remake comes out. I'll definitely be doing a marathon stream of the game on launch, similar to what I did with Engage. I personally think playing through the game once as quickly as possible is very good for making content, since it lets me get a review out quickly and also lets me work on other videos on the game. One thing that excites me quite a lot about the prospects of a Genealogy remake is all the discussion that's going to pop up about child pairings. Fire Emblem 4 had, in my opinion, one of the best inheritance systems ever seen in the franchise. Other games like Awakening and Fates tried to mimic it, but at best they only really managed to create a poor imitation of it in my mind. While I do fear how well received Fire Emblem 4 will be in terms of sales and its ability to draw in new fans to the series, I do think it's going to be a great game for making content. Djugdral is one of my favorite Fire Emblem continents. It has a very rich history and a lot of cool events to cover, and the story of Fire Emblem 4 is filled with schemes, plots, and politics, with several noble families working with and against each other. I know one thing for sure. After Engage, it's going to be nice to get some proper world building again. And since this is a world already pre-built by Shosukaga, most of that work will already have been done for the developers, and all they really need to do is faithfully adapt it. I'm also very excited for the prospects of things like support conversations, which will let us flesh out characters that had very few lines of dialogue in the original game's plots. And maybe we'll even see some extra characters added in via DLC, such as some Tracia exclusives. I know I personally wouldn't mind seeing characters like Bishop Sias, the bastard son of Arvis, appear in Generation 2, as it gives the player the ability to wield the Valflame, something you could never do in the original. I know some Tracia purists disagree with this, but they can go sit on a Pooji. I think it would be a cool addition. Another thing I'm personally very excited to do if this game gets a remake is to do a substitute run. In case you don't know, if you fail to pair up units in the first generation, you have to play the second generation with a bunch of shitty substitute characters lacking Holy Blood and inherited equipment. This is actually the game's unofficial hard mode, as these characters are way weaker than their Holy Blood counterparts, and it actually makes the second generation much tougher. Doing this in an Iron Man setting actually sounds hard as hell, and I'm really excited to try it. So yeah, I know I'm going to receive endless amounts of cope comments on this video, but I don't care. I choose to be excited. Despite my worries for the franchise itself, I will personally be very happy if this game gets remade, because it really is one of my favorites, and it will be nice to return to the series' roots and experience one of the most amazing stories ever told in Fire Emblem. Now, I'd like to hear what you guys think. Do you think this remake is happening, or do you think I'm inhaling copium? Let me know about it in the comment section below. And if this remake is happening, what will you personally be the most excited about? Let me know about that in the comment section also. And here's to hoping the next Nintendo Direct won't be airing while I'm away at the cabin this weekend. That would make me very upset. Anyway, my name has been Mangs. Thank you so much for watching this copium video. Leave a like and a comment if you enjoyed it, and subscribe for more Fire Emblem news. I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.